All right, a lot of people have messaged me asking me if I would demonstrate the art of doing soap figures. Now, of course, most of you know I'm a wood carver. I have come across some difficult times right now with what I believe is that they're almost sure it's a severe form of carpal tunnel, and even though you can get worked on and stuff there, I've got some other issues with my back, so they want to be extremely careful. So as a grace period, to stop carving for a while with wood and not go too much, I have got into doing some soap figures. Now, soap figures can be very crude or they can be very intricate. Some of these are extremely intricate, as we call. This one particularly of a hillbilly is a little bit more intricate with cuts and things like that have been produced out of a bar of Zest soap. And then you get even more intricate, as we might possibly say. These little figures like this. This is of a hobo that I did. And then you get into, here's one which is sort of a guy with a beard, as we say. And then, you know, then the more intricate one, the man I have here. Now, a lot of people have written me and asked me, how do you do this with soap? I mean, I think if you can carve wood, you can carve soap. Now, soap, it's easier to carve. People say, well, it's easier to carve. Yes, but it's also more delicate, and you have to be a lot more careful with it because it breaks a lot easier. You have to be more gentle and more light with it as we go along, in other words, in this type of figure. So you're asking, you know, I've been written and asking, how do you, now these are very popular with bathrooms and people that, you know, the unusual little gifts and stuff like that. I have tremendous amount of requests now for soap figures, and you know, especially the more intricate kind, as we possibly say. And once I'm through with them, I spray them with some Def or with some acrylic, and they harden up a little bit. Of course, if you drop them, they can break, yes, just like any other intricate little figure. So you have to be real careful with them in that sense. They're not as durable as wood, as we commonly say. Now, a lot of people have asked me, how in the world do you just even go about starting something like this? Now, first of all, you have to have a little bit of carving experience to do them, because I mean, you have to have a little bit, but not a whole lot. And basically, you can use a knife and a V-tool, and that's all you need to create these little figures. I start off with now my last one I carved was with a bar of ivory soap, but it seemed like the Zest soap the figure shows up so much better and much more, you know, believable as I do it. Now, if you look at the bar of Zest soap, you can see that it's concave, not like the ivory, which is a square. I wish it was square; it would give me more room. But this is the 4-ounce bar. They make 2 bars of Zest soap, a 4-ounce and a 3.2 ounce. I like the bigger bars because it gives me a lot more to work with in such a way. All right. Now, basically what I do is, when I start off doing something, I take the sides and I even them up. In other words, I try to square off the piece is what I do. So I take and I sort of take off these edges on this side here, and to start off with sort of a square piece or similar to a square piece to create the character with. Let me get something to put this in. Just a second. Let me grab this over here. so that I can make the bars of, or the scraps fall into it. I'm sorry. I am not as well prepared as I should be, but that's all right. That's okay. It's not the end of the world. We don't lose the end of the world. Okay, now, as you can see, we're sort of squaring this off, okay? And of course, you want to take off this area that has the zest on here, which is not a whole lot. You don't have to dig real deep when you do it, but you want to get that off there so that you can have the front of your bar of soap more, as we might say, round, just like that, in other words. Now, by doing this now, we're sort of making a square, or we're squaring up the bar of soap, in other words, to make it much easier to get our bearings, as we might say, of how we want to carve. Now, for it to stand, or to have you're going to have to go down to the end here, and you're going to have to flatten this out just a little bit. In other words, so that the shoes, or the area there, now, like that. See how so that it can stand, just like that. Okay? Now, what I do is I'll go down, probably a ½ inch or more, and I'll make a cut, and I'm going to go down further than that, but this is where my head is going to be, okay? Okay, I'm going to come down just a little bit more. I'm going to establish where my head is going to be. And I'm going to kind of take off some areas in here. I just sort of cut away that top there, like that, in other words. And that, as you see, is where my head will be of this piece. Now, I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to cut just a little bit in an angle like this, and a little bit in an angle like this, and then I'm going to cut away right in here, okay? So that I can kind of extend that head a little bit, so that I have more to work with. Okay? Now, do you see that? We can go back here, and we can kind of do the same thing. Give us a little bit more to work with back here. And then we can always take off whatever we have to take off. Just like that. Okay? Just like that. Okay. Now, when we take, I want to come, a quarter of an inch up in here, and I want to come across the bottom like this, and then I want to, that's where my feet's going to be, okay? Now, the only thing about, of course, about soap is that you're limited, because your figures can only be a certain size or whatever. They can't be real big or whatever. A bar of soap is not real big. Now, you can get bigger bars of soap, but I don't know of where, and I'm sure you can, and whatever. But we're just going to try to work from a bar of soap that you can go and buy at your local grocery store. All right. Now, if you look at the figure, then you see the general outline of the figure itself. Okay? Now, I want to find the middle place here, which is somewhere around in here, and I want to separate that area in there. Basically, when you cut the soap, sort of like, watch as I cut it, it sort of comes out. You don't really have to, sort of comes out by itself anyway. All right, to give us kind of a general idea of where we are. Let's come back just a little bit more. And this will be where our feet will be. Then we can kind of, so let's look at that. All right, now around the head here I'm going to take a little bit more off, because what have we got in this area? This is our shoulders, correct? This is our shoulders. So what we want to do is we want to put our arms in here. Okay. Just like that. All right. Now, I'm going to take my knife. I'm going to bring it down. Bring it over. And basically, there's where my arm is. So I take, and I remove that soap in there. We can shape better as we go along. But by taking that off, there is your arm. Okay? Do the same thing over here. Just kind of come down, bring over, and bring back where you're at, and remove some of this soap that is in here. You're just establishing where your arms are. I'll have to be a lot more taken off. All right. So, in the general idea of what we're doing here, we're getting our figure blocked out, as we might say. Okay, just like that. All right, okay, it's time to go. But you see the general blocking that we have done here now to get what we want. So anyway, all right, back to it again.